Hey, people. If you ever started to read the Bible and it didn't make any sense to you, it just means that you're a lot more intelligent than the people that say it makes complete sense. You know, my mom's dad is from Quebec, and I never spoke to him. He only spoke French. He didn't speak any English. And he was in the monastery. He was going to become a priest, but he was a wise guy. He got kicked out. But my mom tells me he read that French Bible the rest of his life trying to figure it out. And he said it didn't make any sense to him at all. So I found some stuff that's going to make a lot more sense out of it. You know, Egypt says they have no records of the Hebrews ever been there. They do have a record of the Hyksos coming to rule for a while that kind of fits in with the story of the Hebrews. They said they were there ruling for several hundred years before Amos ran them out. And if you say the Hyksos, that doesn't sound anything like Hebrews. Neither does the Hebrew word for Hebrew. That's just a O-V-R-I. You know, and O-V-R usually they say means over. On the other side of the river, the over. And it looks like an ovary. They really have to stretch to get Hebrew out of that. And this word to follow it, and this one looks more like the Hyksos, the let's hick. And it just comes from the same place the word of the father of Jacob come from. Isaac is a I-X-H-Q. And it means laughter. And you see it when it says and Isaac. It's the wits check. You know, the ovary, let's check. But the records say that when the Hyksos was ruling Egypt, they chose the god Set to be their one true god. And everything about this points to the Hebrews. They say the word Hyksos means the rulers of foreign lands. And you can see it in the hieroglyph. You know, the staff, that's where they're getting the HK or the HQ. And it means the same thing as the L. You know, the tongue, and it means the rule. And then this is a Q, and they say this is foreign lands. So this god Set, he was represented by many different animals. He might have been a dog, an aardvark, African wild dog, a donkey, hyena, a jackal, a pig, an antelope, a giraffe, a skinny dog. And he was best known for riding on the solar bark, and at sunset every night his job was to fight the serpent all night. That's where your word sunset come from. They'll tell you that the scholars aren't sure how it's supposed to be pronounced. But if you look at the ancient Greek spelling, it's the same spelling as Sed, the Sed festival, or Set, the third son of Adam. The seed another instead of Abel, whom Kain killed. Except in the Latin, the Greek, and the Hebrew, it says and killed Kain. It says Abel killed Kain. You see it here in the Hebrew. You know, instead, you know, that, the evil, EVL, the evil, the seed, the urge of Cain, whom killed Cain. You know, this was the seed to replace the evil, EVL. And so when they tell us a story, they try to let us think that Cain was evil and Abel was minding his own business. But no, it got that backwards. You know, on the 8th day, and all the earth was finished, all the earth and heavens was finished, and there was not a man to cultivate, to work the earth, to be in the garden. And so God created Adam and put him in the garden, to work the earth. And then Adam had a son, Cain, that worked the earth. And then he had this son, Abel, his brother, the evil, and he was a keeper of sheep. The evil row it's on. You know, a row, that's your seed. The evil seed it's on. You know, if you watch the westerns, they always hate the old sheep farmers. You know, you plant your garden and them sheep come in your garden and they're evil. They're just plain evil. They eat your garden up. And so you imagine Cain was raising Cain before he killed the evil. So Adam had a third son named Appointed, S-T, Appointed. The S-T has appointed. That's what Set means. And has appointed for me God a seed another instead of evil. And that's what Jan Assman says. He says Egyptians could never conceive of a lonely God lacking personality. And Set, the desert god who was worshipped on his own, represented a manifestation of evil. During the Second Intermediate Period, a group of Near Eastern peoples known as the Hyksos, the rulers of foreign lands, gained control of Lower Egypt and ruled the Nile Delta. And that's the same thing that the CIA is doing now, disguised as Israel. They're trying to get the Nile Delta. Because come the coming Ice Age, this is where all the food is going to come from. And they chose Set, originally Upper Egypt's chief god, the god of foreigners, and the god they found most similar to their own god, Hadad, as their patron. Set then become worshipped as the chief god once again. The Hyksos king Apophis is recorded as worshipping Set exclusively, as described in the following passage. King Apophis chose for his lord the god Set. He did not worship any other deity in the whole land except Set. And Jan Assman argues that because ancient Egyptians could never conceive a lonely god, they had a bunch of gods. You can't have one god. The god lacking personality, Set, the desert god, who was worshipped on his own, represented a manifestation of evil. That's evil to have one god. And when Moses, M-O-S-E, that's the Hebrew spelling for Moses, overthrew the Hyksos and expelled them 3,500 years ago, Egyptians' attitude toward Asiatic foreigners became xenophobic. We don't want them here again. And not just the Egyptians, the whole world didn't want the Jews. And royal propaganda discredited the period of the Hyksos rule, and that's one reason, they erased a bunch of it. They didn't want nobody to know that they come over and ruled Egypt. And in ancient Egyptian astronomy, Set was commonly associated with the planet Mercury. That's Greek for Lord, the Curie, from the Lord, or Mir, a place of the Lord, Mercury. A Mir, is a part, and a Curie is the Lord, a part, Lord. So Set is the Alpha Omega. At the Genesis 4, when Adam's having his children, Set is at the end of the chapter. This is the last two lines in this chapter is Set and the son of Set. And so the beginning of the day started at sunset. The end of the day was at sunset, and the beginning of the new day. That's Alpha Omega, the beginning and the end. And the node had them attending. The node in Yada and Nu, and the node had them attending a Gynae Otav. I want to see your Gyna, his wife. The Gynae should. And a sully abuse. Sully is soiled, abuse. And from looking at that Gyna, from looking at her belly, you could tell that she has been soiled. She's been sully abused. The telling, it's showing off, the telling. And she's conceiving and she bore, the sully abuse, the telling. Why on? How on? And upon 'em has it to honor me. O-N-O-M, and the double A here reads as a Y, honor me. And so, in Deuteronomy, they say Deuter is the second and onomy is the law. And onomy is a body. And upon 'em has to a body ought of, a should set. A body should set. The ledge of says, the A earring is the ES. The ledge of, what he said. The ledge of says, it saves this, jar me. This is, a jar is where your word char come from. It means to turn. When you're barbecuing something, when it's starting to get charred on one side, it means to turn. And that's where your word charm come from. And to turn me. The O-I reads as the E. And the charm. And a ledge of says it saves these to turn me, a charm. Audio, O-D-E-O, the audios. And then the double S, this one's reading as a I. And the audio, a cipher, S-I-P-E-R. A cipher, a mister on. The cipher, M-A-E, is a M-E-S, a mister on. And anti, they don't know what that means. We think it means against, but they'll say it means for, with. They'll just give it a meaning, whatever they have to make it fit. But I found something in here that I've been looking for a long time, and this is when to get the word, this saying, the Lego, the ledge of says, it saves this, the turn me audios, the sounds, a cipher from, the cipher mester on. And the evil on effective when. And so this isn't Kain in the Greek. The K-A-I reads as a W. And this just means the time of when. And the evil on effective when. Abel whom killed Kain. And then in this next line, you'll see the Hebrew word for God here in the Greek. And it's here to call upon. And so it looks like this word's coming from where set is, where Mercury is at sunset. And to set in have to, why as, who as, how as, upon him has said to, and he named, upon him has said to, on me, the law, the body of to, the body should, ought of, in has out, in is out, a self is in. If he call is day to. This call, you see, it's a A-L-E-I-S. That's the same thing as A-L-E-I-M in Hebrew. The I-M is plural, same thing as the S. A-L-E-I-M, the God. And upon, upon, and if he call, an epic all is day, to on a maker you taught how. And so this isn't on me now because it's not followed with the A here, just a single A. The M-A-K-U-R, the maker you taught how. The name of the Lord God. An epic all is day, to on maker you taught how. So this word Abel here, this is where the word devil comes from. And you don't see it here, and the T and the I-A becomes a U, and double, T-U-B-E-L. And here in the evil you see the devil, and the T, the T and the D mix up, the devil. And sometimes you won't see it when the word before ends with a vav, the V-A reads as a D-E, the devil. That's where the word devil comes from. The evil, the devil. And you see it other places. This word, they say that Abel just disappears after this, but it's used throughout the Bible. They just give it a different meaning. They say Abel means the breath, the second son of Adam. You see it most of the time interpreted as vain, vanity, fraud, a mere breath, futility, idle, vanity, of a low degree vanity, and nothing, and idols. Is evil, there is futility. Why call in evil and brought futility? When you see it spelled like this, the vav and the A become a D-E. And this is the devil, D-E-V-L, the devil. Like the Jackals, devil. This is usually, they say, this is the dragons. You see here, dragon, serpent, sea monster. The dragon or dinosaur, a sea river monster. Serpent, venomous snake. They turned into a jackals, and the dragon devil. You know, it comes up throughout the Bible. They just give it a bunch of different numbers and give it different meanings. And here with Abel, there's also a stone of Abel, which they'll say means morning. Abel, morning. So, Set, kills the day, and then morning kills the night. Morning kills Kain. Abel kills Kain. But it's like every other word, they'll say it means no if that's what they need to fit, or indeed, no indeed, or truly, whatever it needs. So if the Bible confuses you, it just means you're smarter than everybody that it doesn't confuse. And here's this word that's a lot closer to Hebrew than the one they claim is Hebrew. The E-B-R-I means astrologers. They got it spelled two different ways here. I always read the first one. It seemed like this came later. But this is, Hebrew. The Hebrew are the astrologers. The stargazers. From what shall come. Looking into the future. From what shall come upon you. And so the language change of Babylon didn't come on until they outlawed astrology. And you'll see that here, this Abel, when you read the A words backwards and forwards, the way they read, and it all makes more sense. It's Lee, and the, la, the B-A-B-E-L-O-N, la Babylon, and Abel whom Cain killed. They killed the astrology. And I'm going to cut this off here. A good day.